The wagon rattled into Testament Creek on a Tuesday, kicking up dust that hung in the September air like a judgment. Rowan Hale stood outside Mackey's general store, arms crossed, watching it approach. He'd been waiting 3 months for this. 3 months since he'd sent the money down to Denver. 3 months of imagining a woman who could handle herself, strong back, good teeth, didn't complain. Someone who understood that mountain life wasn't about comfort. It was about not dying. The wagon stopped. The driver, a whip-thin man named Coltrane, climbed down and spat tobacco juice into the dirt. "You Hale?" "I am." "Got your package?" Coltrane jerked his thumb toward the wagon bed. "Though I gotta say, friend, you might want to send this one back." Rowan's jaw tightened. He walked to the back of the wagon. And there she was. She sat on a trunk, hands folded in her lap, staring at nothing. Mid-20s, maybe. Round face. Soft everywhere. A frontier woman couldn't afford to be soft. Her dress was city-made, pale blue, already stained with travel dust. Sweat darkened the fabric under her arms and across her back. Her brown hair had come loose from its pins and stuck to her neck. She looked up at him. Her eyes were gray. Frightened gray. Like a rabbit that just heard the hawk's wings. Rowan felt something drop in his chest. Not desire. Not even disappointment. Just cold, settling certainty. This woman was going to die on his mountain. "You Eliza Vance?" His voice came out harder than he meant. "Yes." Barely a whisper. "You understand what you signed up for?" She nodded, didn't speak. Behind him, Rowan heard boots on the boardwalk. The whole damn town was coming out to watch. Of course they were. Entertainment was scarce in Testament Creek. A mail-order bride was a festival. A mail-order bride who looked like this was the show of the year. "Well, hell," someone muttered. Rowan didn't turn to see who. "That man's going to be a widower before winter." Laughter, not cruel exactly, just honest. The kind of laughter that came from people who'd watched plenty of folks fail and die in these mountains. Rowan reached up. "Come on down." Eliza stood. The wagon creaked under the shift of her weight. She moved to the edge, misjudged the height, and stumbled. Rowan caught her, barely. She was heavier than he expected and softer. He could feel her trembling. She pulled away fast. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. Watch your feet." Her face went red. She looked down, blinking hard. Rowan grabbed her trunk, God, it was heavy, and hauled it onto his shoulder. "Store's this way. Need to get supplies before we head up." "Up?" "The mountain. That's where we're going." "Oh." She said it like she'd just remembered, like somehow the entire arrangement had slipped her mind. "Yes. Of course." They walked toward Mackey's. The crowd didn't bother hiding their stares. Mrs. Patterson clutched her shawl and whispered something to the blacksmith's wife. Old Garrett just shook his head, slow and sad, the way you'd shake your head at a lame horse. Tom Mackey was waiting at the store entrance, grinning like a bastard. "Rowan Hale, thought you were getting yourself a helpmate." "I am." "That woman can't help nobody. She can barely help herself up a step." Rowan set the trunk down hard. "You finished?" Tom raised his hands. "Just saying what everyone's thinking." "Then maybe everyone should think quieter." Rowan pushed into the store. Eliza followed, moving carefully, like the floorboards might give way beneath her. Inside, the air was cooler. Smelled like coffee and lamp oil and leather. Rowan moved through the aisles, grabbing what they'd need: flour, salt, dried beans, coffee, cornmeal, lard, ammunition, rope, a good skinning knife. Eliza stood near the door, hands clasped, staring at a shelf of canned peaches like it held the secrets of the universe. "You know how to cook?" Rowan asked. She jumped. "Some." "Some like I can make bread, or some like I burned water once?" I can make bread." "Good. You'll be making a lot of it." He grabbed 2 more sacks of flour. "Can you sew?" "Yes." "Shoot?" She blinked. "No." "Ever killed an animal?" "No." "Ever skinned one?" "No." Rowan stopped, looked at her, really looked. "What can you do?" Eliza's throat worked. Her eyes got shinier. "I can read, I can write, I can do sums, I can—" Her voice cracked. She pressed her lips together hard. Rowan sighed, went back to loading supplies on the counter. Tom rang it up, still wearing that shit-eating grin. "You're a braver man than me, Hale. Just add it to my account. Will do. Though if I were you, I'd consider—" "You're not me." Tom's grin faded. He bagged the supplies without another word. Outside, Rowan loaded everything onto his mule, a gray beast named Stubb, who had the personality of a cactus and the work ethic of a saint. Eliza watched, wringing her hands. "We got 6 miles up the mountain," Rowan said. "Trail's rough. You gonna be able to walk it?" "Yes. It's steep. I'll manage. There's no turning back once we start. I'm not making this trip twice." Something flashed in her eyes. Not anger exactly. Harder than that. "I won't turn back." Rowan studied her. The trembling had stopped. Her chin was up. Still scared, yeah, but there was something underneath the fear now. Something stubborn. "All right," he said. "Let's go." They left Testament Creek behind. The trail started easy enough, a wide path through scrub pine and sage. But within half a mile it started climbing. The ground turned rocky. The air thinned. Eliza fell behind almost immediately. Rowan heard her breathing, ragged, labored, desperate. He stopped, turned. She was 20 yards back, bent over, hands on her knees, gasping like a landed fish. "You all right?" She nodded, couldn't speak. Rowan waited. She straightened, took 3 steps, stopped again. "Maybe we should rest," Rowan said. "No." She forced the word out. "No, keep going." "You're gonna collapse." "I won't." "You can barely breathe." "I said keep going." Her voice came out sharp, angry. The first real emotion he'd heard from her. Rowan turned and kept walking. Behind him, he heard her stumble, catch herself, keep moving. It went like that for 2 miles. Stop, gasp, move, stop, gasp, move. The sun climbed higher. The day got hotter. Sweat poured off her in rivers. Her face went from red to purple, but she didn't quit. Rowan found himself glancing back more often, waiting longer. Not because he wanted to, because something about watching her refuse to stop made him uneasy, like watching someone drag themselves over broken glass just to prove they could. At the 3-mile mark, there was a creek. Rowan stopped. "Let Stubb drink." Eliza collapsed onto a rock and put her face in her hands. Rowan filled his canteen, brought it to her. "Drink." She took it with shaking hands and drank too fast, choked, coughed, drank again. "Slow down. You'll make yourself sick." She lowered the canteen. Water dripped down her chin. "How much farther?" 3 miles. Her face crumpled. Just for a second. Then she smoothed it out again, handed back the canteen, and stood. "Okay." "You don't have to do this," Rowan said. "I can take you back, get you on the next stage out of—" "No. You're not built for this. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm not going back." She looked at him straight. Those gray eyes weren't frightened anymore. They were flat, final. "Whatever happens, I'm not going back." Rowan wanted to ask why, what she was running from, but the look on her face stopped him. "All right," he said quietly. "Then we keep going." The last 3 miles were hell. The trail turned into a series of switchbacks, narrow and steep, carved into the mountainside. Loose rocks skittered under their boots. The drop-off on one side went down 200 feet. Eliza slowed to a crawl. Rowan had to stop every 50 yards. She'd catch up, bent double, wheezing, shaking. He'd wait. She'd straighten. They'd go again. The sun dipped toward the western peaks. Rowan started to worry. If they didn't make it to the cabin before dark, they'd be stuck on this trail with no shelter. And the nights were already getting cold. "We need to move faster," he said. Eliza didn't answer, just kept putting one foot in front of the other. "I'm serious. We don't make it before dark, we're in trouble." Still nothing. Rowan grabbed her arm. "Hey, you listening?" She yanked away from him. "Don't touch me." The words came out hard and cold. Rowan stepped back, hands up. "Fine, but we need to—" "I heard you." She started walking again. Faster now. Too fast for her condition. Her legs wobbled. She stumbled, caught herself on a rock, kept going. Rowan followed, uneasy. Something was wrong. This wasn't determination anymore. This was something else, something desperate and cracked. The trail narrowed. Eliza's boot slipped on loose gravel. She went down hard on one knee, cried out. Rowan was beside her in a second. "You hurt?" "I'm fine." But when she tried to stand, she gasped. Her knee was bleeding through her dress. "Let me see." "I said I'm fine." She shoved his hand away and forced herself upright. Her legs shook. Blood dripped down her shin. "You need to—" "Stop telling me what I need." The words exploded out of her, loud, raw. "I know what I need. I need to keep moving. I need to get up this mountain. I need to get as far away from—" She stopped, swallowed hard, blinked fast. "I need to keep going. That's all. Just let me keep going." Rowan stared at her, at the blood on her leg, at the way she was shaking, not from exertion now, from something deeper. "Who are you running from?" he asked quietly. Eliza's face went blank. "No one." "Don't lie to me." "I'm not lying." "You're terrified. You'd rather die on this mountain than go back down it. That's not no one." She turned away. "It doesn't matter." "It does if it's going to follow you up here." "It won't." "How do you know?" "Because no one knows where I am." She looked back at him. Her jaw was set. "No one. And I'd like to keep it that way." Rowan wanted to push, but the look in her eyes, flat and hard and final, told him he'd get nothing more. "Fine," he said, "but we move now, before we lose the light." She nodded. They climbed. The cabin appeared just as the sun touched the peaks. It sat in a small clearing, backed against a granite cliff. Solid log construction. Single room. Pitched roof. A stone chimney on the south side. Firewood stacked under the eaves. A small lean-to for Stubb. It wasn't much, but it was strong, and it was home. Eliza stopped at the edge of the clearing, stared. "This is it," Rowan said. "It's small. It's big enough. There's only one room." "That's right." "Where do I sleep?" Rowan pointed to the far corner. "There. I built a frame. Got straw for a mattress. You'll need to stuff it yourself." Eliza's face did something complicated. She pressed her lips together, nodded. Rowan unlocked the door. The inside smelled like wood smoke and old coffee. The main room held a table, 2 chairs, a cook stove, shelves stocked with supplies. A narrow bed against the east wall, Rowan's. The empty frame in the far corner, hers. Eliza stepped inside, looked around slowly. Her shoulders sagged. "It's not a palace," Rowan said. "I didn't expect one." "Good, because this is it. No neighbors, no town, no help if something goes wrong. Just us and the mountain." She turned to face him. "I understand." "Do you?" Rowan set her trunk down. "Because I don't think you do. Winter's coming. In 2 months we'll be snowed in. No getting down, no getting out. If you can't handle yourself, if you can't pull your weight, we're both dead. You understand that?" "Yes." "I need more than yes. I need to know you're not going to fall apart the first time things get hard." Something sparked in her eyes. "The first time things get hard?" She laughed. It sounded broken. "You think this is the first hard thing I've ever done?" "I don't know. You won't tell me." Eliza's face closed off. "I'll pull my weight. That's all you need to know." Rowan watched her, wanted to argue, but exhaustion was pulling at him. It had been a long day. "Fine," he said. "There's a creek out back. Water's good. Outhouse is 30 yards east. You need something, ask. Otherwise, stay out of my way and we'll get along fine." He turned to leave. "Rowan." He stopped. She'd never said his name before. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for not sending me back." Rowan looked at her, at this soft, scared, bleeding woman who'd somehow dragged herself up a mountain just to escape something she wouldn't name. "Don't thank me yet," he said. "Winter hasn't hit." The first week was a disaster. Eliza couldn't do anything right. She burned the bread. She left the door open and a fox got into the food stores. She tried to carry water from the creek and spilled half of it before she made it back. She cut herself trying to chop vegetables and bled all over the table. Rowan didn't yell, didn't mock, just watched with that flat, measuring stare. It made her want to scream. She'd never felt so useless in her life. Back in Boston, she'd been capable. She'd managed a household. She'd kept books for her father's business. She'd organized charity events and dinner parties, but none of that mattered here. Here, she couldn't even start a fire without Rowan having to step in and fix it. On the 8th day, she dropped a full pot of stew. It shattered. Stew and ceramic shards everywhere. Eliza stood there, staring at the mess, and felt something crack inside her chest. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry. Stop." Rowan was already grabbing a rag. "Just stop apologizing." "But Apologizing doesn't fix it. Clean it up and do better next time." She got down on her hands and knees and started picking up the pieces. Her hands were shaking. The sharp edges cut her fingers. "Careful," Rowan said. "You're bleeding again." "I don't care." Her voice came out tight, angry. "I don't care. I just want to do one thing right. Just one." "Then slow down. You're rushing, trying too hard." "I have to try hard. I don't know what I'm doing." "I know, but you're not going to learn by panicking." Eliza sat back on her heels, stared at the mess, at her bleeding hands, at this cabin and this man and this life that felt like wearing someone else's skin. "I don't belong here," she said quietly. "No," Rowan agreed. "You don't." The words hit like a slap. She looked up at him. He was watching her with that same flat stare. No pity, no anger, just truth. "But you're here anyway," he said. "So you'd better figure it out." He left her there. Eliza finished cleaning, bandaged her hands, sat at the table in the empty cabin and stared at nothing. She thought about Boston, about the brownstone on Beacon Hill, about silk dresses and afternoon tea and the way sunlight used to stream through the parlor windows. She thought about Charles Drummond. The memory made her stomach clench. She pushed it away, locked it down, buried it deep. She couldn't think about him, not now, not ever. Instead, she stood, went to the shelf, pulled down the flour and lard and salt, read the handwritten recipe Rowan had tacked to the wall, basic bread. She started over. This time she moved slowly, measured carefully, didn't rush. The dough came together. She kneaded it the way the recipe said, folding, pressing, turning. Her hands ached, but it felt good, solid, real. She set it to rise, started the fire in the cook stove, waited. When Rowan came back an hour later, the bread was baking. The cabin smelled like yeast and heat. He stopped, looked at the stove, looked at her. "It might be terrible," Eliza said. "Probably. But I tried." "I know." They waited together in silence. When the timer went off, Eliza pulled the bread out. It was lopsided. One side was darker than the other, but it was bread. Real, actual bread. Rowan cut a slice, bit into it, chewed slowly. "Well?" Eliza asked. "It's not terrible." Something loosened in her chest. "Really?" "It's not good, but it's not terrible." Eliza laughed. It came out shaky and half-broken. "That's the nicest thing anyone's said to me in weeks." Rowan almost smiled, almost. "You'll get better." "How do you know?" "Because you didn't quit." He cut another slice. "Most people would have quit by now." Eliza thought about that, about quitting, about going back down the mountain and facing... No. She slammed the door on that thought. "I can't quit," she said quietly. "I know," Rowan said. "That's why you might actually survive this." The days fell into a rhythm. Eliza woke before dawn, started the fire, made coffee, burned it the first week, got it right the second. By the third week, Rowan stopped checking her work. She learned to haul water without spilling it, to chop vegetables without cutting herself, to read the weather by watching the clouds. Rowan taught her to shoot, handed her his rifle and pointed at a tree. "Aim for the center." Eliza hefted the rifle. It was heavier than she expected. She pressed it against her shoulder the way he showed her, lined up the sights, pulled the trigger. The recoil knocked her flat on her ass. Rowan didn't laugh, just helped her up. "Keep your weight forward. Lean into it." She tried again, and again, and again. By the 10th shot, she hit the tree. "Better," Rowan said, By the 20th, she hit the center. Good enough, Rowan said. Now do it 100 more times. She did. Her shoulder turned purple from the recoil. Her hands blistered from gripping the stock. But she kept going. Because Rowan was right, winter was coming, and when it hit, there'd be no room for weakness. No second chances. She had to be ready. Plus, at night they sat by the fire and didn't talk much. Rowan would carve, arrows mostly, or repair work on tools. Eliza would sew. She'd found fabric in one of the trunks and started making herself clothes that actually fit the work. Heavy skirts, thick blouses, an apron with deep pockets. Sometimes Rowan would glance over and watch her work. She had good hands, steady, quick. You're better at that than the cooking, he said one night. I've had more practice. Where'd you learn? Eliza's needle paused. My mother taught me. She's still in Boston? No, she died when I was 12. Sorry. It was a long time ago. Rowan went back to carving. Eliza went back to sewing. After a while, she said, What about you? You have family. Had a brother. He died in the war. I'm sorry. Don't be. He died doing what he wanted. Rowan tested the edge of the arrowhead. Better than most people get. Eliza thought about that. About dying. Doing what you wanted. About whether she'd ever wanted anything that much. Why the mountain? She asked. Fewer people. That's it? That's enough. Eliza smiled a little. You really don't like people. I like them fine, just don't need to be around them all the time. And you thought a wife would be different. Rowan looked up, met her eyes. I thought a wife would be useful. Someone to share the work. Someone who wouldn't talk my ear off or expect things I can't give. Like what? Romance. Softness. The kind of marriage city people have. Eliza's smile faded. I didn't come here for romance. Good, because you won't find it. They fell silent again. The fire crackled. Outside an owl called. The temperature was dropping. Soon the first snow would come. Eliza finished the seam she was working on and set the fabric aside. Rowan? Yeah? Thank you for giving me a chance. Rowan didn't look up. Haven't given you anything yet. Winter's not here. But you didn't send me back. You could have. Still could. But you won't. Rowan's knife stilled. He looked at her. Really looked. Saw the way she sat straighter now. The way her hands had stopped shaking. The way the fear in her eyes had hardened into something tougher. No, he said quietly. I won't. Eliza nodded, picked up her sewing again. And for the first time since she'd stepped off that wagon, she felt something that wasn't fear. She felt hope. The first snow came in October. Eliza woke to silence, the deep, muffled silence that only snow could bring. She got up, wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, and looked out the window. The world was white. 3 inches, maybe 4, covering everything. The trees bent under the weight. The clearing looked like a painting. Rowan was already up, dressed, pulling on his coat. Storm's gonna get worse. We need to secure everything now. They spent the morning working. Rowan checked the roof, cleared the chimney, brought in more firewood. Eliza hauled water, checked the food stores, stuffed rags under the door to keep out drafts. By noon, the snow was falling harder. By evening, it was a full blizzard. They sat by the fire and listened to the wind scream. How long will it last? Eliza asked. Day, maybe 2. And then? Then winter starts for real. Eliza pulled her blanket tighter, stared into the flames. I've never seen snow like this. You'll see a lot more before spring. She nodded, didn't speak. Rowan watched her, saw the way she held herself, tight, controlled, like if she loosened even a little, something bad would spill out. You doing all right? He asked. Yes. You sure? I'm fine. But her hands were clenched in the blanket. Her jaw was tight. Eliza. She looked at him. Whatever you're running from, Rowan said carefully, it can't reach you here. Her face went very still. How do you know? Because I won't let it. The words hung between them. Eliza's eyes got bright. She blinked fast. You don't even know what it is. Don't matter. It does. If you knew, you'd... I'd what? Send you back? Rowan shook his head. You've worked harder than anyone I've ever seen. You've earned your place here. Whatever happened before, it's done. This is your home now. Eliza's breath hitched. She looked away fast, pressing a hand to her mouth. Rowan gave her space. Went back to carving. After a long time, Eliza said, his name was Charles Drummond. Rowan's knife stilled. He was a businessman. Wealthy, powerful. My father owed him money. Her voice was flat, empty. So he sold me. Called it an engagement. But we both knew what it was. Rowan didn't move, didn't speak. He was charming at first. Brought me gifts. Took me to the theater. Everyone said I was lucky. She laughed, hollow. And then we were married, and I learned what luck really meant. The fire popped, snow hissed against the window. He hurt me, Eliza said quietly. Every night. And I couldn't leave because he owned everything. My father's business, our house, even the clothes on my back. I was trapped. How'd you get out? Rowan asked. I found his ledgers. He was embezzling from his investors. Fraud, bribery, enough to put him away for 20 years. She met Rowan's eyes. I stole the evidence, took everything I could carry and ran. Bought a ticket west under a false name. Answered your advertisement because I thought maybe on a mountain no one would find me. Rowan was quiet for a long time. Then he said, they won't. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He set down his knife. Because I meant what I said. This is your home now, and no one's taking you from it. Eliza's throat worked. Why do you care? Because you're mine now, and I protect what's mine. The words were simple, blunt. No poetry, no softness. But they hit Eliza like a benediction. She nodded, wiped her eyes. Okay. They sat together in silence, listening to the storm rage outside, and inside the cabin, small and warm and safe, something shifted. Something settled. Two people who'd come to this mountain alone, running from different ghosts, finding something neither had expected. Not love, not yet, but the foundation of it, the beginning. The storm blew itself out by morning. The snow stopped. The sun came out, blinding and cold, turning the world into glass. And in the cabin, Eliza Vance woke up and didn't feel afraid anymore. She felt ready. November came hard. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in a single night. Ice formed on the inside of the windows. The creek froze solid. When Eliza went outside to split wood, the cold bit through her coat like teeth. She'd gotten stronger. The softness that had made the townspeople laugh was burning away, replaced by muscle and calluses. Her hands were rough now. Her face had thinned. She could haul water without stopping to rest, could chop wood for an hour straight, could skin a rabbit without flinching. Rowan watched the transformation without comment, but sometimes she'd catch him looking at her with something that might have been approval. They fell into an easy partnership. Rowan handled the hunting and heavy repairs. Eliza managed the cabin, cooking, mending, keeping inventory of their supplies. They worked in companionable silence most days. The talking came at night by the fire, when the darkness pressed close and words came easier. Tell me about your brother, Eliza said one evening. Rowan was sharpening his hunting knife. He didn't look up. Not much to tell. You said he died in the war. He did. Which one? The one that mattered. The blade scraped against the whetstone. He believed in the cause, believed it was worth dying for, so he did. Do you think it was? Rowan paused, tested the edge with his thumb. I think he's dead either way. Doesn't matter what I think about it. Eliza watched him work. The firelight caught the planes of his face, made him look carved from stone. Do you miss him? Every day. He set the knife aside. But missing him doesn't bring him back, just makes you useless. So I don't think about it much. That's not how grief works. It's how survival works. Eliza pulled her knees to her chest. Is that what we're doing? Just surviving? Rowan looked at her then, really looked. What else is there? She didn't have an answer. Outside, the wind picked up. It sounded like voices screaming, like the mountain itself was trying to shake them loose. "Storm's coming," Rowan said. "Big one. We should check the shutters." They spent the next hour securing everything. By the time they finished, the first flakes were falling. Within an hour, it was a whiteout. The world disappeared behind a wall of white. They huddled by the fire and waited it out. The storm lasted 3 days. 3 days of howling wind and snow piling up against the door. 3 days of rationing firewood and eating cold meals because the wind kept blowing out the stove. 3 days trapped in a space the size of a horse stall with nothing to do but think. On the second day, Eliza started pacing. "Sit down," Rowan said. "You're wasting energy." "I can't just sit." "You can't pace yourself warm either." "I need to move. I need to—" She stopped, pressed her hands to her face. "I'm sorry, I feel like the walls are closing in." Rowan understood that. He'd felt it too, his first winter up here. The isolation could get inside your head if you let it. "Tell me about Boston." She dropped her hands. "What?" "Boston, what was it like?" "Why do you want to know?" "Because it'll give you something to think about besides these walls." Eliza sat down slowly, stared into the fire. It was beautiful. The buildings were all brick and brownstone, trees lined every street. In the fall, the leaves turned gold and red and orange. It looked like the whole city was on fire. "You miss it?" "Sometimes. I miss the theater, the music, being able to walk down the street and see 100 different faces." She paused. "But I don't miss what I was there, who I had to be." "Who was that?" "Small, quiet, obedient." The word came out bitter. "I was my father's daughter. Then I was Charles's wife. I was never just me." "And here?" She looked at him. "Here, I'm just Eliza. For the first time in my life, I get to decide what that means." Rowan nodded slowly. "That's worth more than any city." "I think so too." The storm finally broke on the third day. They woke to silence and sunlight so bright it hurt to look at. The snow had drifted up to the window ledges. The door was completely blocked. Rowan had to kick it open. Snow poured in like water. He waded through it, chest deep in places, clearing a path to the lean-to. Stubb was fine. Annoyed, but fine. The chickens Rowan kept in a small coop were huddled together for warmth but alive. Eliza started digging out the rest of the cabin. Her back screamed, her shoulders burned, but she kept going. By evening, they'd cleared enough space to function. They were both exhausted, soaked through, shivering. Rowan built up the fire while Eliza changed into dry clothes behind a blanket they'd strung up for privacy. When she emerged, he handed her coffee laced with whiskey. "Drink. It'll warm you up." She drank. The whiskey burned going down. But he was right. It helped. They sat close to this fire, shoulders almost touching. 3 more months of this, Rowan said. "At least." "You scared?" Eliza thought about it. A month ago, the answer would have been yes. But now? "No, not anymore." "Good." He took a sip of his own coffee. "Because it's going to get worse before it gets better." He wasn't wrong. December was brutal. The temperature stayed below 0 for weeks. The snow kept coming. Some mornings they'd wake to find 2 feet of fresh powder. They'd spend half the day just digging out. Eliza learned to read the weather by feel. If the air was too still, a storm was coming. If the wind shifted north, it would be a bad one. If the sky turned that particular shade of yellow-gray, they had maybe an hour to prepare. She learned to conserve everything: water, food, heat, energy. The mountain didn't forgive waste. She learned to handle the cold, to work through the pain, to push past exhaustion because stopping meant freezing. And she learned to handle the rifle. Rowan took her hunting one clear morning. They hiked up through deep snow, following deer tracks. Eliza's legs burned. Her lungs ached in the thin air, but she kept up. They found the deer in a clearing, a young buck, maybe 2 years old. Rowan pointed. Eliza raised the rifle, sighted down the barrel. The buck's breath steamed in the cold air. He had no idea they were there. "Center mass," Rowan whispered. "Breathe out slow. Squeeze. Don't pull." Eliza's finger tightened on the trigger. The rifle cracked. The buck dropped. She'd made a clean kill. Rowan clapped her on the shoulder. "Good shot." They field dressed the deer together. Rowan showed her how to open it up, remove the organs, quarter the meat. It was messy work. Blood stained the snow. The smell was thick and warm. Eliza's stomach turned, but she didn't look away, didn't flinch. "You all right?" Rowan asked. "Yes." "Most people get sick their first time." "I'm not most people." Rowan smiled, actually smiled. "No, you're not." They packed the meat and hauled it back to the cabin. It took 2 trips. By the time they finished, the sun was setting and Eliza could barely stand. But that night, they ate venison steaks cooked in butter, and Eliza felt something she hadn't felt in years. Pride. She'd provided. She'd contributed. She'd earned her place. Rowan must have seen it on her face because he said, "You're getting good at this." "I had a good teacher." "I didn't teach you to shoot straight. You did that yourself." Eliza looked down at her plate, at her rough, scarred hands, at the calluses and cuts and burns that told the story of the last 3 months. "I'm not the same person who got off that wagon." "No, you're not." "Is that good or bad?" Rowan considered. "Depends. Do you like who you're becoming?" Eliza thought about the woman she'd been in Boston. Soft, frightened, trapped. Then she thought about who she was now. Harder. Stronger. Free. "Yes," she said. "I do." "Then it's good." They finished eating in comfortable silence. Outside, the temperature was dropping again. Another storm was coming. Eliza could feel it in the air. But inside the cabin, with the fire burning and a full belly and a man who looked at her like she was capable instead of broken, inside she felt warm. Christmas came and went without ceremony. They didn't have gifts, didn't have decorations, just another day of work and survival. But Eliza made bread with honey, and Rowan opened a jar of preserved peaches he'd been saving. They ate by candlelight and didn't talk about what they were missing. Because the truth was, Eliza wasn't missing anything. Every Christmas before this had been performance, forced smiles and polite conversation, and pretending to be grateful for things she didn't want. This was simple, real, honest. This was better. January hit like a hammer. The cold became absolute. The kind of cold that cracked trees, that froze spit before it hit the ground, that made every breath feel like swallowing glass. They spent most of their time inside. Rowan worked on equipment repairs. Eliza sewed and mended and read the 3 books Rowan owned, a collection of Shakespeare's plays, a guide to wilderness survival, and a beat-up copy of Robinson Crusoe. She read them all twice. "You getting cabin fever?" Rowan asked one evening. "A little. Can't do much about it. Too cold to go out for more than an hour." "I know." Eliza set down the book. "Tell me something." "Like what?" "Anything. Just talk to me. I need to hear words that aren't on a page." Rowan thought. "My brother used to say that being alone was a skill, that most people couldn't handle it because they didn't know how to sit with themselves. They needed noise and people and distraction to feel real. Do you believe that?" "I used to, before you got here." He poked at the fire. "But now I think maybe he was just scared of needing anyone." Eliza felt something twist in her chest. "Are you scared of that?" Rowan didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quiet. "Yeah, I am." "Why?" "Because needing someone gives them power over you, and I've seen what people do with power." "Not everyone." "Most everyone." "Not me." The words came out fierce. "I would never—" "I know." Rowan looked at her. "That's what scares me." They stared at each other across the fire. Something hung in the air between them, something heavy and inevitable. Eliza stood, crossed to where he sat, knelt in front of him. "I'm not her," she said. "Who?" "Whoever hurt you. Whoever made you think needing someone was dangerous. I'm not her." Rowan's jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Then tell me." "No." "Rowan, I said no." He started to stand. Eliza grabbed his wrist. "Don't shut me out. Please. I've told you everything. You know my worst. Let me know yours." He pulled away, stood, walked to the window and stared out at the frozen darkness. Eliza waited. Finally he said, "Her name was Sarah. We were engaged. I was planning to bring her up here. build a life. Then I found out she was sleeping with my brother. Eliza's breath caught. They didn't even try to hide it, just expected me to understand, to step aside, because she didn't want this. He gestured around the cabin. She wanted the city, and my brother could give her that. So she chose him. I'm sorry. Don't be. She did me a favor, showed me what love really is, a transaction. You give someone what they want, they stay. You stop, they leave. Simple. That's not love, Eliza said quietly. That's using someone. What's the difference? Everything. She stood, walked to him, stood beside him at the window. Love is choosing someone even when it's hard, even when it costs you. Love is staying when leaving would be easier. Rowan looked at her. Is that what you're doing? Staying because it's hard? I'm staying because it's home. The word hung between them. Home. Not the cabin, not the mountain. Him. Rowan's hand found hers in the darkness, rough fingers threading through hers, warm despite the cold. I'm glad you're here, he said. So am I. They stood like that for a long time, watching the snow fall, feeling the warmth of each other's presence. And when they finally went to bed, to their separate corners of the cabin, something had shifted. Something fundamental. They weren't just surviving together anymore. They were building something. February brought a thaw. The temperature climbed above freezing for the first time in months. The snow started to melt. Water dripped from the eaves. The creek began to run again. Rowan and Eliza spent a week making repairs. The roof had leaked in a few places. The door frame needed reinforcement. The chicken coop needed a new wall. They worked side by side. Rowan would measure and cut. Eliza would hold and hammer. They moved together like they'd been doing it for years. You're getting good at this, Rowan said, watching her drive a nail straight through on the first try. You keep saying that. Because it keeps being true. Eliza smiled. Maybe I just had good motivation. What's that? Not freezing to death. Rowan laughed. Actually laughed. It was a rusty sound, like he was out of practice. But it was real. Eliza found herself laughing too. They finished the repairs and stood back to admire their work. The cabin looked solid, strong, ready for another year. We did good, Rowan said. Yeah, we did. That night, they celebrated with the last of Rowan's whiskey. They sat by the fire and talked about spring, about planting a garden, about building a second room onto the cabin, about the future. You think you'll stay? Rowan asked. After winter ends and you can get down the mountain again? Eliza looked at him. At this man who'd taken a chance on a stranger, who'd taught her to survive, who'd given her a home when she had nowhere else to go. Where else would I go? Back to civilization. You could start over somewhere easier. I don't want easier, I want this. You sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Rowan nodded slowly, set down his glass, leaned forward. Then we should probably make it official. What? We're married, on paper, but I never asked if you wanted it to be real. Eliza's heart started pounding. What are you asking? I'm asking if you want to be my wife. Actually, my wife. Not just someone sharing space. She should have hesitated, should have thought about it, should have considered all the complications and risks. But she didn't. Yes, she said. I want that. Rowan's hand cupped her face, rough palm against her cheek. You understand what that means? You're stuck with me, up here, away from everything. I understand. And you're still saying yes? I'm still saying yes. He kissed her then, slow and careful, like she was something precious. Eliza's hands fisted in his shirt, pulled him closer. The fire crackled, the wind whispered against the windows. And in that small cabin on that frozen mountain, two broken people found something whole. They moved to Rowan's bed that night. It was narrow. They had to sleep pressed together, but neither of them minded. Eliza lay with her head on Rowan's chest, listening to his heartbeat, strong and steady. Real. I love you, she whispered. His arm tightened around her. I love you too. It was the first time either of them had said it. The words felt strange, new, terrifying, but they felt right. Eliza fell asleep feeling safer than she'd ever felt in her life. She should have known it wouldn't last. March came in cold and clear. The snow was retreating. The days were getting longer. Spring was coming. Rowan went out to check the trap lines one morning. Eliza stayed behind to work on the garden plot they'd marked out behind the cabin. She was on her knees in the dirt when she heard horses. Her head snapped up. 4 riders were coming up the trail. They moved fast, purposeful. Eliza's blood turned to ice. She dropped the trowel and ran for the cabin, grabbed the rifle, loaded it with shaking hands. The riders reached the clearing, stopped, dismounted. 3 men and a woman, all well-dressed, armed. The lead man, tall, gray-haired, expensive coat, stepped forward. "Mrs. Drummond," he called out. "We know you're here. Come out peacefully, and no one gets hurt." Eliza's hands tightened on the rifle. Charles had found her. The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Drummond would very much like his property returned, both the documents and his wife. Eliza's mind raced. Rowan was at least 2 miles away. She was alone, outnumbered, outgunned. But she'd learned something on this mountain. She'd learned how to fight. She opened the door, stepped out, raised the rifle. "I'm not going anywhere with you," she said. Her voice didn't shake. The man's smile widened. "I was hoping you'd say that." He drew his pistol, and all hell broke loose. Eliza dove left as the first shot rang out. The bullet punched through the cabin wall where her head had been a second before. She hit the ground hard, rolled, came up firing. Her shot went wide. 2 rushed, but it made them scatter. The gray-haired man ducked behind his horse. The woman, blonde, cold-eyed, wearing riding gloves, pulled a rifle from her saddle. The other 2 men flanked out, moving to surround the cabin. Eliza scrambled backward through the door, slammed it shut, threw the bolt. A bullet shattered the window. Glass exploded inward. Eliza dropped flat, crawling toward the table. She needed cover, needed to think. Another shot, then another. They were testing her, seeing how she'd respond. She popped up, fired through the broken window. Didn't aim for anyone in particular, just needed to slow them down. "Mrs. Drummond!" The gray-haired man's voice carried across the clearing. "This doesn't have to be difficult. Mr. Drummond simply wants what belongs to him." Eliza's hand shook as she reloaded. 2 shots left. Then she'd have to reload again. She wasn't fast enough. Rowan could reload in seconds. She needed at least a minute. A minute she didn't have. She heard footsteps. Someone was circling around to the back of the cabin. She ran to the rear window, saw one of the men, young, mustached, carrying a shotgun, creeping toward the door. Eliza aimed, fired. The man yelped and hit the ground. She'd winged him. Blood bloomed on his shoulder. He scrambled behind the woodpile, cursing. 3 shots left. 4 attackers. The math wasn't good. Something hit the front door. Hard. They were trying to break it down. Eliza's mind raced. She couldn't hold them off. Not alone. Not like this. She needed Rowan. But he was miles away and had no idea what was happening. Another impact on the door. The wood cracked. She had maybe 30 seconds before they got through. Her eyes landed on the cook stove, still warm from breakfast. She grabbed a pot, dumped the leftover coffee on the floor, filled it with kerosene from the lamp, stuffed in a rag. The door splintered. Eliza lit the rag, waited until it caught, threw it through the broken front window. The pot shattered. Kerosene sprayed across the porch. The flames followed. Someone screamed. She used the distraction to run to the back door, threw it open. The wounded man was still behind the woodpile. He saw her, raised his shotgun. Eliza was faster. She fired, hit him center mass. He went down and didn't get up. 2 shots left. She ran. Not toward the trail, they'd expect that. Into the woods. The trees were still bare, but there was cover, rocks, deadfall, places to hide. Behind her, she heard shouting. They'd seen her run. Eliza's boots crunched through melting snow. Her breath came in gasps. She hadn't run like this since Boston, since the night she'd fled with Charles's ledgers stuffed in a carpet bag. She'd been soft then, weak. She wasn't weak anymore. She found a fallen tree and dove behind it, pressed her back against the trunk, tried to quiet her breathing. Footsteps. 2 sets. Coming fast. "She went this way," a man's voice. Young, scared. "Spread out. She can't have gone far." The woman. Calm, professional. Eliza peered over the log, saw them moving through the trees, 30 yards out. The blonde woman moved like she'd done this before. The young man, couldn't be more than 20, kept looking around nervously. Eliza sighted down the barrel. 1 shot at the woman. If she missed, she'd have 1 bullet left and 2 attackers. She didn't miss often anymore. But she'd never shot at a person before. Not deliberately. The wounded man had been reflex. This would be different. This would be murder. Her finger tightened on the trigger. The woman stopped, turned, looked right at Eliza's hiding spot. Their eyes met. The woman smiled, raised her rifle. Eliza fired first. The woman spun, dropped. The young man shouted, ran to her. Eliza didn't wait to see if she'd killed her. She ran deeper into the woods. Behind her, gunfire erupted, wild, panicked. The young man was shooting at shadows. Eliza kept moving, her lungs burned, her legs screamed, but she didn't stop. A voice cut through the trees, the gray-haired man. "Enough! Fall back!" The shooting stopped. Eliza slowed, listened. Footsteps retreating, horses whinnying, low voices. She crouched behind a boulder and risked a look. They were regrouping at the cabin. The blonde woman was on her feet, wounded but alive. The young man was helping her onto a horse. The gray-haired man stood in the clearing, staring into the woods. "Mrs. Drummond!" his voice echoed. "You've killed one of my men and wounded another. Mr. Drummond will hear about this." Eliza said nothing. "We'll be back, with more men, and next time we won't be so gentle." They mounted up, rode out, fast. Eliza stayed hidden until the sound of hoofbeats faded completely. Then she collapsed against the boulder and shook. She'd done it. She'd fought them off. But they'd be back. He'd said so, with more men, more guns, and next time she might not be so lucky. She staggered back to the cabin. The front porch was scorched black. The door hung off its hinges. Inside was chaos. Broken furniture, shattered glass, bullet holes in the walls. The dead man was still behind the woodpile, face down in melting snow, blood pooling beneath him. Eliza made herself look, made herself see what she'd done. She'd killed a man. Her stomach lurched. She turned away and vomited into the snow. When she could breathe again, she wiped her mouth and went inside. Found a blanket, covered the body. She couldn't bury him. The ground was still too frozen. But she couldn't leave him uncovered either. She'd deal with it later. When Rowan got back. Rowan. She had to find him, warn him. Eliza grabbed what she could. The rifle, ammunition, water, dried meat. Stuffed it all in a pack. Her hands were still shaking. She was halfway out the door when she heard something. Footsteps. Running. She spun, rifle up. Rowan burst into the clearing. He took one look at the cabin, the scorched porch, the broken door, the blood in the snow, and his face went white. "Eliza! I'm here!" She ran to him. He caught her, held her at arm's length, checking for injuries. "Are you hurt?" No, I'm fine." "What happened?" "They found me. Charles sent men, 4 of them. Her voice cracked. "I killed one. Wounded 2 others. They left, but they said they're coming back." Rowan's jaw tightened. His eyes swept the clearing again, landed on the covered body. "How long ago?" "Maybe 20 minutes. How many are coming back?" "I don't know. He said more men. He didn't say how many." Rowan was already moving, into the cabin, grabbing weapons, ammunition, supplies. His movements were fast, efficient, military. "What are you doing?" Eliza asked. "Getting ready." He shoved a box of cartridges into a bag. "If they're coming back, we need to be prepared." "Prepared how?" "To fight." Eliza stared at him. "Rowan, there could be a dozen men, maybe more. We can't run." He stopped, looked at her. "This is our home. We run now. We'll be running forever. Is that what you want?" "No, but I don't want you to die either." "I'm not planning on it." He pulled out a map, spread it on the table. "The trail's the only way up here. It's narrow, steep. We know this ground. They don't. That gives us an advantage. How? Rowan traced a line on the map. Here, about a mile down. The trail runs under a rock shelf. If we can trigger a slide, we can block the trail, maybe bury some of them in the process. Eliza's breath caught. You want to cause a landslide? You got a better idea? She didn't. It's risky, Rowan continued. We'd have to set it up right, and we'd need to know exactly when they're coming, but if it works, we trap them. Or kill them. Yeah. Eliza looked at the map, at the spot Rowan had marked, at the neat lines that represented tons of rock waiting to fall. She thought about Charles, about his men, about the gray-haired man's smile when he'd drawn his gun. They weren't coming to talk, they were coming to drag her back, or kill her trying. Okay, she said. Let's do it. They spent the next hour preparing. Rowan showed Eliza where the rock shelf was, a massive overhang of granite and shale, already cracked and unstable from winter freeze-thaw cycles. A few well-placed charges of black powder would bring the whole thing down. You know how to use explosives? Eliza asked. Learned in the war. Haven't done it in years, but the principle's the same. He was packing powder into cloth bags. We'll set up 3 charges. Space them out along the base of the shelf. Run a fuse line back to cover. When they're underneath, we light it. And if we miss, then we're in trouble. He tied off the last bag. But we won't miss. They carried everything down to the rock shelf, set the charges, ran the fuse line back to a boulder that offered cover and a clear view of the trail. Rowan checked and rechecked the setup. This has to work the first time. We won't get a second chance. I know. He looked at her, really looked. You don't have to do this. I can handle them myself. You could go. Hide in the woods until it's over. No. Eliza, I said no. She grabbed his hand, held it tight. We're in this together. That's what you said. That's what I want. Rowan's throat worked. If this goes wrong, it won't. But if it does, then we go down fighting. She squeezed his hand. Together. He pulled her close, kissed her hard. When they broke apart, his eyes were fierce. All right, he said. Together. They took positions behind the boulder, waited. The afternoon dragged on. The sun moved across the sky. Shadows lengthened. Eliza's hands cramped around the rifle. Her back ached from crouching, but she didn't move. Beside her, Rowan was motionless, watching the trail, patient as stone. The sun was touching the western peaks when they heard it. Horses, lots of them. Rowan tensed. Here we go? The riders came into view, 8 of them this time, armed. The gray-haired man was in the lead. Behind him rode 6 men Eliza didn't recognize, hard-looking, experienced, hired guns, and at the back, wrapped in an expensive coat, riding a black gelding, Charles Drummond. Eliza's breath stopped. He looked exactly as she remembered. Tall, handsome, dark hair graying at the temples. The kind of face that made people trust him, that hid the monster underneath. That him? Rowan whispered. Eliza nodded, couldn't speak. Rowan's hand found hers, squeezed once. Stay focused. The riders moved up the trail, slow, cautious. They were watching the trees, looking for an ambush. They passed the first charge. Then the second. Rowan's hand moved to the fuse, waited. The gray-haired man stopped, held up a hand. The column halted. What's wrong? Charles's voice carried in the thin air, cultured, educated. The voice that had whispered terrible things in Eliza's ear. Something's not right. The gray-haired man scanned the rocks above. It's too quiet. You're being paranoid. I'm being careful. That woman killed Tucker, nearly killed Mary. She's not the helpless girl you described. She got lucky, that's all. Charles urged his horse forward. Let's finish this. I have business in Denver next week. The gray-haired man hesitated, then nodded. The column started moving again. They passed the third charge. They were directly under the shelf now. All of them. Boxed in by the rock wall on one side and the drop-off on the other. Perfect. Rowan looked at Eliza. Ready? She nodded. He lit the fuse. It caught, started burning, fast. They ducked behind the boulder. The explosion was enormous. The first charge went off with a crack that shook the mountain. Then the second, the third. The rock shelf disintegrated. Tons of granite and shale and dirt came roaring down. Horses screamed. Men shouted. The sound was swallowed by the roar of falling rock. Dust billowed up in a massive cloud. Eliza couldn't see anything, could barely breathe. Rowan pulled her close, covering her mouth and nose with his shirt. The rumbling went on forever. Rock hitting rock, the crash of boulders, the groaning of the mountain itself, and then silence. Eliza's ears rang. She could taste dust and powder. Her whole body was shaking. Rowan moved first, pulled away, looked toward the trail. The dust was starting to settle. Where the trail had been was now a wall of rubble, 20 feet high, maybe more. Boulders the size of wagons, shattered trees, debris spread across 100 yards. Nothing moved. Rowan stood slowly, rifle ready, moved toward the slide. Eliza followed. They picked their way across the rubble. It was still settling. Rocks shifted under their feet. Dust choked the air. Rowan stopped, pointed. A hand, sticking out from under a boulder, pale, unmoving. Further along, a horse, dead, crushed. They kept searching, found 3 more bodies, broken, buried, gone, but not all of them. How many were there? Rowan asked. 8. I count 4 dead, maybe 5 if someone's buried deeper. That leaves 3 or 4 unaccounted for. A sound cut through the dust. A groan. Rowan spun. Eliza raised her rifle. Someone was moving, behind a fallen tree. A figure staggered into view, the gray-haired man. His face was covered in blood. His left arm hung useless. But he was alive. He saw them. Reached for his pistol. Rowan fired first. The man went down. Eliza's stomach turned, but she didn't look away. Any more? Rowan asked. They waited. Watched. Nothing moved. We should check the other side, Eliza said. They climbed over the slide. It took 10 minutes. The rocks were unstable. Dangerous. On the far side, they found 2 more bodies, both dead. But no Charles. Eliza's heart sank. He's not here. You sure? I counted. That's 7. He's the 8th. Rowan swore, started searching faster. They found signs of someone escaping, disturbed rocks, blood on a boulder, a trail leading away from the slide, downhill, back toward Testament Creek. He got away, Eliza whispered. Maybe. Or maybe he's injured and didn't get far. We have to find him. Not tonight. Rowan looked at the sky. The sun was setting. It's getting dark. We go stumbling around these rocks. We'll break our necks. We'll look in the morning. But, Eliza! He grabbed her shoulders. If he's hurt, he's not going anywhere fast. If he's not hurt, he's already gone. Either way, we need light and we need rest. We just brought down half a mountain. We're exhausted. We're not thinking straight. We go now, we make mistakes. She wanted to argue, wanted to chase after Charles right now, end this. But Rowan was right. Okay, she said. Morning. They climbed back up to the cabin. The walk felt twice as long as usual. Every muscle in Eliza's body ached. Her hands were scraped raw. Her ears still rang. The cabin was cold, dark, damaged. Rowan built a fire. Eliza collapsed into a chair and stared at nothing. She'd killed people today. At least 2. Maybe more if the landslide had caught others. She should feel something. Guilt, horror, remorse. But all she felt was tired and afraid. Because Charles was still out there. Rowan brought her coffee. She took it with shaking hands. You all right? He asked. No. Yeah, me neither. They sat in silence. The fire crackled. Outside, night fell complete. What do we do now? Eliza asked. In the morning, we track him. If he's close, we finish it. If he's gone, Rowan stopped. If he's gone, we have a choice to make. What choice? Stay here and wait for him to come back. Or go after him. Eliza looked at him. You'd do that? Leave the mountain? If it meant keeping you safe, yeah. Her eyes burned. I don't want you to have to do that. I know, but I will if I have to. She set down the coffee, moved to him, knelt between his knees, took his scarred, rough hands in hers. I'm sorry. she said. I brought this to your door. I brought them here. I ruined everything. No. His hands tightened on hers. You didn't ruin anything. You survived. That's what you do. That's who you are. People are dead because of me. People are dead because they tried to hurt you. That's on them, not you. I don't feel brave. I feel scared. Being scared doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart. He pulled her close. And you're the smartest, toughest person I've ever met. Man or woman. You understand me? Eliza buried her face in his chest. Let herself shake, let herself be afraid, and let him hold her together. They stayed like that for a long time. Eventually, Rowan said, Come on, we need rest. Morning's going to come fast. They went to bed. Eliza curled against Rowan's chest. His heartbeat was steady under her ear. Do you think we killed him? She whispered. In the slide? I don't know. I hope we did. I know. Does that make me a bad person? No, it makes you human. Eliza closed her eyes, tried to sleep, but all she could see was Charles's face, his smile, the way he used to look at her, like she was property, like she belonged to him. If he was alive, he'd come back. She knew it with absolute certainty, and next time he wouldn't send hired men, he'd come himself. The thought should have terrified her, but instead, something cold and hard settled in her chest. Let him come. She wasn't the woman he remembered. She wasn't soft anymore. Wasn't weak. Wasn't afraid. She was something else now, something the mountain had made, something that could survive anything, even him. Morning came gray and cold. Rowan woke first, started coffee, checked the weapons. Eliza got up, dressed, ate without tasting. They packed light, rifles, ammunition, water, rope, everything they'd need to track someone through rough country. The sun was just clearing the eastern peaks when they headed down toward the slide. In daylight, the destruction was even worse. The landslide had carved a scar across the mountainside. Trees were snapped like kindling. The trail was completely obliterated. They found the blood trail easily. It led down, away from the slide toward the valley. They followed it. The blood was bright red, fresh. A lot of it. He's hurt bad, Rowan said. Moving slow. They moved faster. The trail wound down through rocks and scrub pine. The blood drops got closer together, bigger. Then they found where he'd stopped, a sheltered spot under an overhang, more blood, signs of bandaging. But he was gone. How far to Testament Creek from here? Eliza asked. 3 miles, maybe 4. Rowan studied the ground. He's heading that way. If he makes it to town, he can get help. Get a doctor. Get more men. We have to catch him first. They ran. The trail dropped steeply. Eliza's legs burned. Her lungs screamed. But she didn't slow. The trees thickened. The blood trail became harder to follow. Then Rowan stopped, held up a hand. Eliza froze. Ahead, through the trees, she saw movement. A figure, limping. One hand pressed to his side, the other gripping a pistol. Charles Drummond. He hadn't seen them yet. Rowan raised his rifle, sighted. Wait, Eliza whispered. Rowan looked at her. I need to do this, she said. He hesitated, then lowered his rifle, handed it to her. Eliza took it. The weight was familiar now, comfortable. She stepped forward, out into the open. Charles heard her, turned. For a moment they just stared at each other. He looked terrible. His expensive coat was torn and bloody. His face was gray with pain, but his eyes were the same, cold, cruel. Eliza. His voice was weak but steady. There you are. Here I am. You've caused me considerable trouble. Good. He smiled, actually smiled. I have to admit, I underestimated you. I thought you were weak. Turns out you're just stupid. Did you really think you could run from me? I'm not running anymore. No, you're not. He raised his pistol. His hand shook, but his aim was steady enough. You're going to put down that rifle, and you're going to come with me. We're going back to Boston, and then we're going to have a very long conversation about consequences. I'm not going anywhere with you. Yes, you are. Because if you don't, I'll kill you. Right here, right now. Then do it. Then do. Charles's smile faltered. What? Kill me. Go ahead. Pull the trigger. He stared at her. You're bluffing. No, I'm not. Eliza's voice was calm, clear. Because here's the truth, Charles. I'd rather die free on this mountain than live one more day as your wife. So if you want to shoot me, shoot me. But you're not taking me back. His face went dark. You ungrateful. I have something else to tell you, Eliza continued. Those ledgers I stole? I made copies. Sent them to 3 different law firms in Boston, with letters explaining everything. Your fraud, your theft, your abuse. If I don't send word that I'm alive and safe by the end of the month, they go to the police, the newspapers, everyone. Charles's pistol wavered. You're lying. Am I? Are you willing to bet everything on that? He was. She could see it in his eyes, the calculation, the risk assessment, but his hand was shaking worse now. Blood was seeping through his coat. He was fading. Put the gun down, Charles, Eliza said. It's over. No. He steadied his aim. No, it's not. If I can't have you, no one will. His finger tightened on the trigger. Eliza raised the rifle. 2 shots rang out. Charles's went wide. Hers didn't. He dropped. The pistol fell from his hand. He clutched his chest. Blood welled between his fingers. Eliza walked to him, stood over him, rifle still raised. Charles looked up at her. His face was white, shocked, like he couldn't believe what had just happened. You shot me, he whispered. Yes. You can't. I already did. His breathing rattled. His eyes were losing focus. You were supposed to obey me, he said. You were mine. No, Eliza said quietly. I was never yours. I just didn't know it yet. Charles tried to speak again, but no words came. Just blood. His eyes went glassy, empty. He stopped breathing. Eliza stood there for a long moment, looking down at the man who'd owned her, hurt her, hunted her, the man who was dead now, by her hand. She should feel something, triumph, relief, guilt, but all she felt was done. It was done. Rowan appeared beside her, looked down at the body, looked at her. You all right? Eliza lowered the rifle. Yeah, I think I am. He put his arm around her. She leaned into him. Together they stood in the cold morning air and watched the sun rise over the mountains. And for the first time in her life, Eliza Vance was free. They buried Charles Drummond in a shallow grave 200 yards from where he fell. The ground was still half frozen. It took them most of the morning. Rowan dug while Eliza kept watch. Neither spoke much. There wasn't much to say. When the hole was deep enough, they rolled the body in. Rowan started shoveling dirt back. Eliza watched the earth cover Charles's face, his expensive coat, the hands that had hurt her. Wait, she said. Rowan stopped. Eliza knelt, reached into Charles's coat pocket, found what she was looking for, a leather wallet. She opened it. Inside were bills, identification papers, and a small photograph. The photograph showed Charles and Eliza on their wedding day. She looked young, terrified. He looked triumphant. She tore it in half, dropped both pieces into the grave. Okay, she said, finish it. Rowan filled in the rest. When he was done, they piled rocks on top, not as a marker, as weight, to keep animals from digging him up. They stood looking at it for a moment. You want to say anything? Rowan asked. Eliza thought about it. Thought about all the things she could say, all the anger and pain and years of fear. No, she said finally. He's had enough of my words. They turned and walked away. But as they climbed back toward the cabin, Eliza felt something shift inside her. A weight lifting, a door closing. Charles Drummond was dead, really dead. She'd watched the earth cover him. She'd seen his eyes go empty. He couldn't hurt her anymore. The thought made her legs weak. She stumbled. Rowan caught her. You all right? I don't know. Her voice came out strange, disconnected. I thought I'd feel different, better. But I just feel empty. That's normal. How do you know? Because I felt the same way the first time I killed someone. He kept his arm around her as they walked. In the war. This kid couldn't have been more than 16. He was trying to bayonet my friend. I shot him. Saved my friend's life. Should have felt good, right? Should have felt like I did something right. But you didn't. No. I just felt sick and tired and like something had broken that I couldn't fix. Rowan looked at her. It gets easier. Not the killing, but living with it. Eventually you learn to carry it. I don't want to carry it. I know, but you will. Because that's what we do. We carry what we have to and keep moving. They reached the cabin as the sun hit its peak. The damage from the gunfight looked worse in full daylight. Bullet holes everywhere. The broken door, scorched wood. We should fix this, Eliza said. We will, but first we need to deal with the other problem. What other problem? Rowan gestured toward the valley. 7 dead men. Maybe 8 if we count the one you shot behind the cabin. That's going to draw attention. Law, questions. We need to get ahead of it. Eliza's stomach dropped. She hadn't thought about that. What do we do? We go to Testament Creek. Talk to the sheriff. Tell him what happened before someone else does. And if he doesn't believe us, then we show him the bodies, show him the bullet holes in our cabin, show him the evidence. Rowan's jaw tightened. Charles Drummond came here with hired guns to kidnap his wife. We defended ourselves. That's the truth. And the truth's on our side. Is it? Eliza heard the doubt in her own voice. I'm the one who ran. I'm the one who stole from him. What if they see me as the criminal? You're not a criminal. You're a survivor. Rowan took her hands. And I'll be right there with you, every step, I promise. Eliza wanted to believe him, but fear was crawling up her throat. What if they arrest me? They won't. But what if they do? What if... Eliza. He cupped her face, made her look at him. I won't let that happen. You hear me? I will burn that whole town down before I let them take you. The ferocity in his voice shocked her and steadied her. Okay, she whispered. Okay, we'll go. They packed what they needed. Changed into their cleanest clothes, which wasn't saying much. Eliza braided her hair, tried to look respectable, tried to look like someone who deserved to be believed. The ride down to Testament Creek took 3 hours. They brought Stubb and one of the horses that had survived the landslide, a bay gelding with a white blaze, skittish but sound. As they descended, Eliza felt the weight of civilization pressing in. The air got warmer, thicker. She could smell wood smoke and horses and people. She'd gotten used to the mountain, to the silence, to having only Rowan for company. Going back felt like putting on clothes that didn't fit anymore. They reached Testament Creek just after noon. The town looked exactly as Eliza remembered. Dusty Main Street, scattered buildings, people going about their business. But this time, when they rode in, people stopped and stared. Rowan guided them straight to the sheriff's office, a small building next to the general store, weathered wood, barred windows. He dismounted, helped Eliza down. Stay close, he said quietly. They went inside. The sheriff was a big man, 60 maybe, gray beard, hard eyes. He looked up from his desk when they entered. Rowan Hale. His voice was gravel and whiskey. Heard you took yourself a wife. I did. The sheriff's eyes moved to Eliza. Took her in, lingered on her rough hands, her worn clothes, the rifle she carried like she knew how to use it. This her? Yes, Eliza Hale. Hearing her new name out loud did something to Eliza. Made it real in a way it hadn't been before. The sheriff leaned back in his chair. What brings you down off that mountain? Don't usually see you till spring thaw. We have a situation, Rowan said. Need to report it official. What kind of situation? The kind that left 8 men dead. The sheriff's chair came down hard. Excuse me? Rowan told him. Everything. Charles Drummond, the hired guns, the attack on the cabin, the landslide, the final confrontation. The sheriff listened without interrupting. His face gave nothing away. When Rowan finished, there was a long silence. Then the sheriff said, That's quite a story. It's the truth, Eliza said. Her voice came out stronger than she felt. The sheriff looked at her. Is it now? Yes. You got proof? The bodies are still up there, so is our cabin with bullet holes in every wall. So is the landslide. Rowan's voice was level, controlled. You want to see for yourself? I'll take you. Might do that. The sheriff stood, walked to the window, looked out at the street. You say this Charles Drummond was your husband? Yes, Eliza said. And he came all the way out here to fetch you back? To drag me back, yes. Why'd you run? Eliza hesitated. This was it. The moment where she had to decide how much truth to tell. She felt Rowan's hand on her back, steadying her. He hurt me, she said quietly, for 2 years, every day. And when I found evidence of his crimes, fraud, embezzlement, bribery, I took it and ran. Because I knew if I stayed, he'd kill me eventually. The sheriff turned, studied her. You got this evidence? Copies of it. Hidden. If I don't send word to my contacts in Boston by month's end, they go to the authorities there. Smart. The sheriff sat back down. What happened to the originals? Charles had them. They're probably buried with him. Convenient. Eliza felt anger flash hot. You think I'm lying? I think you're a woman who ran from her husband, stole from him, and now he's dead along with 7 other men. That's a lot of bodies. They came to kill us, Rowan said. His voice had gone cold. Dangerous. We defended our home. That's not murder. That's survival. Maybe, maybe not. That's for a judge to decide. You arresting us? The sheriff was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Not yet, but I need to investigate. Need to see these bodies. Need to talk to some people. Until then, you two stay in town. Don't leave. Don't cause trouble. Understood? Rowan's jaw was tight. Understood. Good. There's a boarding house 2 streets over. Mrs. Chen runs it. Tell her I sent you. She'll give you a room. They left the sheriff's office in silence. Outside, the sun was bright. People were still staring. Eliza felt exposed, vulnerable, like everyone could see the blood on her hands. Come on, Rowan said. Let's get settled. The boarding house was clean, simple. Mrs. Chen was a small Chinese woman with sharp eyes and no nonsense in her voice. She showed them to a room on the 2nd floor, tiny, barely big enough for the narrow bed and washstand, but it had a lock on the door and a window that looked out on the street. Rowan checked the lock, tested the window. It'll do. Eliza sat on the bed, stared at her hands. Hey, Rowan knelt in front of her. Talk to me. I don't know if I can do this. Do what? Wait. Be questioned. Have people look at me and wonder if I'm a murderer. Her voice cracked. I killed my husband, Rowan. I shot him and watched him die, and I'm not even sorry. What does that make me? It makes you free. He took her hands. And it makes you brave. And it makes you someone who refused to be a victim anymore. That's what it makes you. The sheriff doesn't see it that way. The sheriff's doing his job. He has to investigate. But when he sees the evidence, when he talks to people, he'll understand. How do you know? Because the truth is on our side, and because I won't let anything happen to you. Rowan's grip tightened. I meant what I said. I'll burn this whole town down if I have to. Eliza almost smiled. You can't fight everyone. Watch me. She leaned forward, rested her forehead against his. What did I do to deserve you? You survived. That's all. You just survived. They stayed like that for a while, drawing strength from each other. Eventually, Rowan stood. I'm going to find us some food. You stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Rowan, I'll be back in 20 minutes. I promise. He left. Eliza locked the door behind him, sat on the bed, and waited. The room was too quiet, too small. She could hear voices from the street, footsteps in the hall. Every sound made her jump. She got up, went to the window, looked out. Testament Creek went about its business below her. People buying supplies, kids chasing each other, a dog sleeping in the sun. Normal life. The kind of life she'd left behind. The kind of life she wasn't sure she fit into anymore. Rowan came back with bread, cheese, and apples. They ate in silence. The town's talking, Rowan said finally. About us? About Charles Drummond. Turns out he rode in 3 days ago, stayed at the hotel, threw money around, hired those men from the saloon, made no secret of what he was doing. Eliza set down her apple. What was he doing? Told everyone his wife had been kidnapped by a mountain man, that he was here to rescue her. Rowan's voice was flat. He painted himself as the hero, you as the victim, me as the villain. Of course he did. Bitter didn't begin to cover what Eliza felt. That's what he was good at, making everyone believe his version. The bartender said Charles showed people a photograph, you on your wedding day, said you looked terrified, said I must have forced you into marriage. Eliza laughed. It came out harsh. I was terrified. But not of you, of him, always of him. I know that, but the town doesn't. So what do? We tell our side. We show them who we are, who you are. Rowan looked at her. And we trust that the truth will win. The truth doesn't always win. No, but it's all we've got. The next morning, the sheriff came to the boarding house, knocked on their door at dawn. Rowan answered. Eliza stood behind him. Need you to come with me, the sheriff said, both of you. Where? Rowan asked. Up the mountain. Want to see this landslide, these bodies, see if your story holds up. They rode out within the hour. The sheriff brought 2 deputies, young men with nervous eyes and new badges. They looked at Eliza like she might explode. The climb took most of the day. The sheriff wasn't used to mountain trails, had to stop frequently to rest his horse. When they finally reached the landslide, the sheriff went quiet. The destruction was massive, undeniable, tons of rock and debris blocking the trail, trees snapped like toothpicks, and bodies. What was left of them? The deputies turned green. One of them threw up. The sheriff dismounted, walked the site, studied everything with careful eyes. You did this? He asked Rowan. We did this, Rowan corrected. Both of us. How? Rowan showed him. The placement of the charges, the fuse line, the timing. The sheriff listened, asked questions, made notes. Then he said, Show me your cabin. They rode the rest of the way up. The cabin looked even worse than Eliza remembered. Bullet holes everywhere, the scorched porch, the broken door. The sheriff walked through it slowly, counted bullet holes, examined the damage. Behind the cabin, he found the covered body, the man Eliza had shot. He pulled back the blanket, looked at the corpse, at the bullet wound. This your work? He asked Eliza. Yes. Close range. He was trying to kill me. The sheriff looked at her, really looked, at her calloused hands, her steady gaze, the way she stood, feet planted, shoulders back, not like a victim, like someone who'd learned to fight. I believe you, he said. Eliza felt something release in her chest. You do? Yeah, I do. He turned to Rowan. You got any whiskey in this place? Some. Good. Pour me a glass. Then sit down and tell me the whole story again, start to finish. Don't leave anything out. They sat at the scarred table. Rowan poured whiskey, and they talked. Eliza told him everything. About Boston. About her father's debts. About Charles. About the abuse, the evidence, the escape. The sheriff listened, drank, didn't interrupt. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, You got people back in Boston who can verify this? The law firms I sent the documents to, and a few friends who knew what was happening. They couldn't help. Charles was too powerful, but they knew. Give me names, addresses. I'll wire Boston, verify your story. And then what? Then I close this investigation, rule it self-defense, and you two go back to living your lives. Eliza couldn't believe it. That's it? That's it. Far as I'm concerned, Charles Drummond got what he deserved. Should have known better than to bring violence to a man's home. The sheriff drained his whiskey, stood. But you need to understand something. This ain't over. Not completely. What do you mean? Rowan asked. Charles Drummond was a rich man, connected. People back in Boston are going to ask questions. Might send someone official to investigate. Might not. But either way, you need to be prepared. We will be, Eliza said. The sheriff nodded. Good. Now show me where you buried him. They took him to the grave. The sheriff looked at it, at the rocks piled on top. Shallow, he observed. Ground was frozen, Rowan said. We'll have to dig him up, take the body back to town. Can't just leave him here. The thought made Eliza's skin crawl. But she understood. When? Tomorrow. I'll bring more men, shovels, a wagon. The sheriff looked at the sky. Getting late. We should head back. They rode down together. The sheriff was friendlier now, asked about the mountain, about their winter, about how Eliza had learned to shoot. "Rowan taught me," she said. "He teach you to cause landslides, too?" "That was all him." The sheriff chuckled. "Remind me not to piss you two off." They reached Testament Creek after dark. The sheriff told them they could go back to the mountain if they wanted, or stay in town until the investigation was fully closed. "We'll stay," Rowan said. "Want to make sure this is finished proper." They spent another night at the boarding house, but this time Eliza slept better. The fear was still there, but it was smaller now, manageable. The next morning, she woke to Rowan shaking her shoulder. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing, but you need to see this." He led her to the window, pointed down at the street. A crowd had gathered, 20 people, maybe more. They were staring up at the boarding house. Eliza's heart sank. "What do they want?" "I don't know, but we're about to find out." They went downstairs together. Mrs. Chen was waiting at the bottom. "They want to see you," she said to Eliza. "The woman. They want to see the woman who fought off 8 men." Eliza and Rowan exchanged a look. "I'll be right beside you," Rowan said quietly. They stepped outside. The crowd went silent, all eyes on Eliza. She felt naked, exposed, wanted to run back inside. But she held her ground. A woman stepped forward, older, gray hair, worn face. "Is it true?" she asked. "What they're saying about you?" "Depends on what they're saying. That your husband hurt you, that you ran, that when he came after you, you killed him." Eliza's throat tightened. "Yes, it's true." The woman nodded slowly. Then she said, "Good." Eliza blinked. "What?" "Good. I'm glad you killed him. I'm glad you got away." The woman's voice got louder, stronger. "My sister had a husband like that. He beat her for 15 years. She finally tried to leave. He killed her for it. So I'm glad, Mrs. Hale. I'm glad you survived." Another voice from the crowd, a younger woman. "My father was the same, mean when he drank, meaner when he didn't. Killed my mother when I was 10. More voices, more stories. Eliza stood there, stunned, as woman after woman stepped forward, sharing their stories, their scars, their grief, and their support. "You did what we couldn't," one said. "You fought back," said another. "You survived." The men in the crowd were quieter, but Eliza saw some of them nodding, saw understanding in their faces. Not all of them. Some looked angry, uncomfortable, but enough. Enough to matter. The sheriff appeared at the edge of the crowd. He'd been watching. Now he stepped forward. "All right, folks, show's over. Let the woman be." The crowd dispersed slowly, but as they left, several women touched Eliza's arm, squeezed her hand, whispered, "Thank you." When they were gone, Eliza turned to Rowan. She was shaking. "You all right?" he asked. "I don't know." She looked at her hands, at the faces still watching from doorways and windows. "I didn't expect that." "Neither did I." The sheriff approached. "Seems you've got yourself some admirers." "I didn't do it for them," Eliza said. "I know, but it matters anyway. Women don't often get to hear about someone fighting back and winning. It gives them hope." He tipped his hat. "I'll be in touch. Should have word from Boston in a week or 2. He left. Eliza and Rowan went back inside, sat in their small room, processed what had just happened. "They called me Mrs. Hale," Eliza said finally. "That's your name." "I know, but hearing it, it made it real. I'm not Eliza Drummond anymore. I'm not Charles's wife. I'm yours." "You're your own," Rowan corrected. "You're Eliza Hale, but you belong to yourself first." She looked at him, at this man who'd given her a home, taught her to survive, loved her without trying to own her. "I want to go back," she said. "To the mountain?" "Yes, I want to go home." Rowan smiled. "Tomorrow. We'll leave tomorrow." But tomorrow came with a complication. A man rode into Testament Creek, well-dressed, official-looking. He went straight to the sheriff's office. An hour later, the sheriff sent for Rowan and Eliza. They went to his office. The stranger was there, late 40s, expensive suit, lawyer's eyes. "This is Mr. Harrison," the sheriff said. He's come from Boston, representative of Charles Drummond's estate. Eliza's stomach dropped. Harrison stood, extended his hand to Rowan, ignored Eliza completely. Mr. Hale, I understand congratulations are in order, though the circumstances are unfortunate. Rowan didn't shake his hand. What do you want? Harrison withdrew his hand, smoothed his jacket. I'm here to settle Mr. Drummond's affairs, including the matter of his widow. I'm right here, Eliza said coldly. Harrison glanced at her. Indeed. Mrs. Drummond, Mrs. Hale. His eyebrow twitched. Forgive me. Mrs. Hale, I've been authorized by Mr. Drummond's family to make you an offer. I don't want anything from them. Nevertheless, you're entitled to certain assets. Your late husband was a wealthy man. His will leaves you a considerable sum. However, there are complications. What complications? Rowan asked. Harrison pulled out papers. These are the ledgers you stole, Mrs. Hale, or rather copies of them, along with your letters to various law firms. Very clever, by the way. Very thorough. Eliza said nothing. The Drummond family would like to make this entire matter disappear. The fraud, the embezzlement, the unpleasantness of Charles's death. They're willing to pay for your silence. How much? The sheriff asked. $50,000. The room went silent. $50,000. A fortune. Enough to live on for the rest of their lives. Harrison smiled. All you have to do is sign these papers. Relinquish any claim to the Drummond name. Agree never to speak publicly about Charles or his business dealings, and the money is yours. Eliza looked at the papers, at the number written there. Then she looked at Harrison. No, she said. His smile faltered. Excuse me? I said no. I don't want their money. I don't want their silence. I want justice. Mrs. Hale, perhaps you don't understand the amount. I understand perfectly. Eliza's voice was ice. Charles Drummond was a criminal. He hurt people. He broke laws, and his family knows it. That's why they want to pay me off. To protect their name, their reputation, their money. Eliza, Rowan said quietly. $50,000. I don't care. She turned to him. I don't care about the money. I care about the truth, about making sure everyone knows what he was, what he did. Harrison's face hardened. If you refuse this offer, the Drummond family will fight you. They have resources, lawyers, influence. They will drag you through every court in Massachusetts. They will destroy your reputation, make you out to be a thief, a murderer, a whore. Eliza felt Rowan tense beside her, felt his hand move toward his gun. She put her hand on his arm, stopped him. Then she stepped close to Harrison, close enough to smell his expensive cologne. Let them try, she said quietly. Let them drag me to court. Let them put me on the stand, because I'll tell the truth, every ugly detail, and when I'm done, the Drummond name won't be worth the paper it's printed on. Harrison stared at her, really saw her for the first time, saw the steel in her spine, the certainty in her eyes. He looked away first. The offer stands for 24 hours, he said stiffly. After that, you're on your own. I've been on my own since I ran from Boston, Eliza said. I'll be fine. Harrison left. The sheriff let out a low whistle. You just turned down $50,000. Yes. You sure about that? Eliza looked at Rowan. He was watching her with something like awe in his eyes. I'm sure, she said. They walked back to the boarding house in silence. Rowan hadn't said a word since they left the sheriff's office. Finally, Eliza couldn't take it anymore. Say something. What do you want me to say? I don't know, that I'm crazy, that I should have taken the money, that I just made a huge mistake? Rowan stopped, turned to face her. I think you're the bravest person I've ever met, he said, and I think Charles Drummond never deserved you, not for 1 second. Eliza felt tears sting her eyes. I'm not brave. I'm just tired of being afraid. That's the same thing. She laughed, wiped her eyes. $50,000, Rowan. We could have rebuilt the cabin. Could have lived easy for the rest of our lives. We'll rebuild anyway, and we'll live the way we've been living, working, surviving, together. He pulled her close. I don't need their money. I just need you. Eliza buried her face in his chest, let herself be held, and for the first time since Charles's men had ridden into their clearing, she felt at peace. The choice was made. The die was cast. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. The 24 hours came and went. Harrison left Testament Creek on the morning stage, his offer unsigned, his expensive suit dusty from frontier travel. Eliza watched him go from the boarding house window. "Any regrets?" Rowan asked. She thought about it. Really thought. $50,000 would have been easy, would have been safe, but easy and safe had never been what she wanted. Not really. "No," she said. "No regrets." They packed their things that afternoon. Mrs. Chen tried to refuse payment for the room. "You've given this town something to talk about besides the weather," she said. "That's worth more than rent." But Eliza insisted, counted out the money carefully, left a little extra. Mrs. Chen looked at the coins, then at Eliza. "You're going back up there? To that mountain?" "Yes." "After everything that happened?" "Because of everything that happened." Eliza met her eyes. "It's home. The first real home I've ever had." Mrs. Chen nodded slowly. "Then I hope you find peace there." "I already have." They left Testament Creek as the sun started its descent. A few people came out to watch them go. Some waved, some just stared. The woman who'd spoken first in the crowd, the one whose sister had been killed, came running up as they were mounting. "Wait," she said breathlessly. She pressed something into Eliza's hand. "For you, for luck." Eliza looked down. It was a small carved wooden bird, simple, beautiful. "Thank you," she whispered. The woman squeezed her hand. "You did good. Don't let anyone tell you different." The climb back up the mountain felt different, lighter, like something heavy had been cut loose. They stopped at the landslide. The sheriff's men had cleared enough to get through, but the scar on the mountain remained, would remain for years. "Think anyone else will try to come up here?" Eliza asked. "No," Rowan said. "Word'll spread. The mountain man and his wife who buried 8 men under half a mountain. People will leave us alone." Good. They reached the cabin as twilight settled. It looked worse than Eliza remembered. The damage, the destruction, the evidence of violence. But it was still standing, still theirs. "We should get started on repairs tomorrow," Rowan said. "Not tomorrow." Eliza dismounted, started unpacking. "Tomorrow we rest. Repairs can wait a day." Rowan smiled. "Yes, ma'am." They spent the evening cleaning up the worst of it, sweeping broken glass, patching the door enough to close, building a fire that pushed back the cold in the dark. When they finally went to bed, Eliza curled against Rowan's chest and listened to his heartbeat. Steady, real, alive. "I was so scared," she said quietly. "When they came. When I saw Charles. I thought it was over. But it wasn't. No, because of you, because you taught me to fight. You already knew how to fight. I just gave you the tools." Eliza was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Do you think it's really over, or will someone else come?" "I don't know," Rowan said honestly. "But if they do, we'll handle it, same as we handled this. Together. Together." She fell asleep feeling safe, feeling loved, feeling like she'd finally found the place she was meant to be. The next week they threw themselves into repairs. The cabin needed a new door, new window frames. The porch had to be rebuilt completely. The bullet holes in the walls needed patching. They worked from dawn until dusk. Eliza's hands blistered, her back ached. But she didn't complain. This was their home. She'd fought for it, bled for it, killed for it. Now she'd rebuild it. Rowan worked beside her, teaching as he went. How to cut lumber true. How to fit joints tight. How to make something that would last. "You're getting good at this," he said one afternoon, watching her plane a board smooth. "You always say that." "Because it's always true." He set down his hammer. "You know, when you first got here, I didn't think you'd last a month." "I know, neither did anyone else. But you proved us all wrong." Eliza looked up at him. "I had a good reason to." "What was that?" "You." She set down the plane, walked to him. "You didn't give up on me. Even when I was useless. Even when I burned everything I tried to cook. You just kept teaching me, kept believing I could learn. Because you could. You were never useless. You were just new. I was terrified. Yeah, but you didn't let it stop you. Rowan brushed a strand of hair from her face. That's what makes you brave. Not that you weren't scared, but that you kept going anyway. Eliza kissed him, soft and sweet. When they broke apart, she was smiling. Come on, she said. This porch won't build itself. 2 weeks after they'd returned, a rider came up the trail. Eliza saw him first. Her hand went automatically to the rifle. Rowan stepped out of the cabin, saw her stance, turned to look. The rider was alone, unarmed as far as they could tell. He raised his hands as he approached. Easy, he called. I'm not here for trouble. Then what are you here for? Rowan called back. The rider stopped at the edge of the clearing. He was young, mid-20s, clerk's hands, nervous eyes. I'm looking for Mrs. Eliza Hale. Eliza stepped forward. That's me. The rider dismounted, pulled an envelope from his saddlebag. I have a telegram for you, from Boston. Eliza's heart clenched. She took the envelope with shaking hands. The rider tipped his hat. I'll be going now, unless you need to send a reply. No, Eliza said. No reply. He rode away. Eliza stood holding the envelope, staring at it. Rowan came to her side. You want me to open it? No, I can do it. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Finally, Rowan took the envelope, opened it carefully, pulled out the telegram. He read it. His face didn't change. What does it say? Eliza whispered. Rowan handed it to her. The telegram was short, from one of the law firms she'd sent the ledgers to. Investigation complete. Stop. Drummond assets seized. Stop. Multiple indictments issued. Stop. Family implicated. Stop. Your testimony not required. Stop. Evidence sufficient. Stop. You are free. Stop. Eliza read it twice, 3 times. I'm free, she said. Her voice sounded far away. They don't need me. The evidence was enough. I'm free. Her legs went weak. Rowan caught her, held her up. It's over, he said. It's really over. Eliza started laughing, then crying, then both at once. Great gulping sobs that shook her whole body. Rowan held her through it all. Let her cry until there was nothing left. When she finally quieted, he said, You all right? I don't know. I don't know what I feel. That's normal. You've been carrying this for a long time. It takes a while to learn how to put it down. Eliza wiped her eyes, looked at the telegram again. They seized everything. His whole empire. Gone. Good. He doesn't get to profit from his crimes, even dead. His family will hate me. Let them. They can't touch you. Not anymore. Eliza folded the telegram carefully, put it in her pocket. I should write back, thank them, make sure they have everything they need. Later. Right now you should rest. I don't want to rest. I want to work. I want to finish the cabin. I want to plant the garden. I want to... She stopped, took a breath. I want to live. Really live. Not just survive. Live. Rowan smiled. Then let's do that. They finished the repairs 3 weeks later. The cabin looked different now, stronger. The new door was solid oak. The windows had good shutters. The porch was wider, more stable. It looked like a place that could withstand a siege, because it had. Eliza planted the garden in early April. The ground was finally soft enough to work. She put in potatoes, carrots, beans, squash, herbs for cooking and medicine. Rowan watched her work. You planning to feed an army? Just us. But I want variety. I'm tired of dried beans and salt pork. Fair enough. They fell into new rhythms, easier rhythms. The fear that had driven them was gone, replaced by something calmer, deeper. They worked together, ate together, slept tangled in each other's arms, built a life from scratch. One evening in May, they sat on the new porch and watched the sunset. The sky was on fire, orange and gold and purple. You ever miss Boston? Rowan asked. Eliza thought about it. Sometimes I miss the easy things. Hot baths whenever I wanted, Fresh bread from the bakery, the library. But, but I don't miss who I was there. That woman was small, scared, owned. She looked at him. Here, I'm free. I'm strong. I'm yours because I choose to be, not because someone sold me. That's worth more than all the hot baths in the world. Rowan took her hand, rough palm against rough palm. You know I'd give you all of it if I could. The comfort, the ease, everything you gave up. I don't want it. I want this. I want you. I want the mountain and the work and the life we're building. She squeezed his hand. This is enough. You're enough. You're more than enough, Rowan said quietly. You're everything. June brought word from the sheriff. A letter delivered by the same nervous clerk who'd brought the telegram. The investigation was closed. Self-defense, official record. No charges filed. No further questions. They were free. Completely, legally free. Eliza burned the letter in the cook stove and watched the ashes float up the chimney. That's the last of it, she said. No more looking over our shoulders. No more waiting for the other shoe to drop. How's it feel? Strange. Good strange. Like I can finally breathe all the way. That night, they made love slowly, carefully. Like they were learning each other all over again. Not as survivors. Not as fighters. Just as two people who'd chosen each other and meant it. Afterward, Eliza lay with her head on Rowan's chest and said, I want to stay here forever. We will. I mean it. I never want to leave this mountain. Then we won't. What if we need supplies? What if something happens? Then we'll deal with it. Together. He stroked her hair. But we're not going anywhere unless we want to. This is our home, our life, our choice. Eliza smiled in the dark. Our choice. I like that. Summer turned the mountain green and wild. The garden flourished. Eliza learned to can vegetables, to smoke meat, to make cheese from the goat's milk they got from a neighbor 5 miles down the trail. She learned to read the mountain's moods, to predict storms by the way the birds flew, to find water in drought, to track game through dense forest. She became part of the mountain, and it became part of her. Rowan watched her change, watched her grow stronger, more confident, more herself. You're different, he said one evening. How? Lighter, like you're not carrying weight anymore. Eliza thought about that, about the woman she'd been, the fear, the shame, the constant crushing pressure of being owned. All of it was gone now, burned away by work and time and love. I feel different, she said. I feel whole. Like all the broken pieces finally fit together right. Good. It's because of you, you know. You gave me space to heal, to grow. You never tried to fix me, just loved me while I fixed myself. Rowan pulled her close. You didn't need fixing, you just needed time. In August, they got another visitor. This time, Eliza didn't reach for the rifle. The woman who rode into their clearing was in her 30s, well-dressed but practical. Kind eyes. She dismounted slowly, waited for permission to approach. Mrs. Hale? She called. Yes? My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm a reporter for the Boston Herald. Eliza's stomach dropped. I have nothing to say to you. Please, just 5 minutes. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here because women need to hear your story. My story isn't anyone's business. It is when it gives them hope. Sarah stepped closer, careful, non-threatening. The Drummond case made national news. Charles's crimes, his family's cover-up. But no one's talking about you, about what you survived, about how you fought back. I don't want to be news. I understand. But there are women out there living the way you used to live, trapped, hurt, afraid. They need to know they can get out. They need to know they can survive. Eliza looked at Rowan. He gave a small shrug. Your choice. She turned back to Sarah. What do you want from me? Just your story, in your own words. I'll write it exactly as you tell it. No embellishment, no drama, just the truth. Eliza was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Come inside, we'll talk. They sat at the table. Eliza made coffee while Sarah pulled out a notebook. Where do you want me to start? Eliza asked. Wherever you want. So Eliza told her, not everything, not the worst parts, but enough. About Charles, about the abuse, about stealing the evidence and running, about the mountain, about learning to survive, about the attack, about choosing to fight. Sarah wrote it all down. Her face was carefully neutral, but Eliza saw her hands shake sometimes, saw her blink hard. When Eliza finished, Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Thank you for trusting me with this." "Will it help? Really?" "I think so. I think women will read this and realize they're not alone, that escape is possible, that they can be more than what their husbands make them. Then it's worth it." Sarah stood. "I'll send you a copy before it goes to print. Make sure I got everything right. If there's anything you want changed, just say so." "Okay." Sarah paused at the door. "Can I ask you something, off the record?" "Sure." "Do you ever regret it, killing him?" Eliza didn't hesitate. "No, I regret that it had to happen. I regret that the world made men like Charles Drummond in the first place. But I don't regret protecting myself. I don't regret choosing to live." Sarah nodded. "Good. You shouldn't." She left. Eliza watched her ride away. Rowan came to stand beside her. "You all right?" "Yeah, I think I am." Eliza leaned into him. "She's right, you know. Women need to hear this, need to know it's possible. You're going to be famous." "I don't want to be famous. I just want them to know they're not alone." The article ran in September. Sarah sent a copy like she'd promised. Eliza read it by firelight. It was honest, brutal in places, but fair. Sarah had captured the truth of it, the fear, the desperation, the fight, and the hope, the possibility that life could be different, better. Eliza folded the newspaper carefully, put it away. "You want to keep it?" Rowan asked. "Maybe. To remember. To show our children someday." Rowan went very still. "Children?" Eliza felt her face heat. "I mean, if you want, do you want children?" She thought about it, really thought. A year ago, the answer would have been no. How could she bring children into a world where men like Charles existed? But now? "Yes," she said. "I do. Not right now, but someday, when we're ready." Rowan's smile was slow and genuine. "Then someday, we'll have them." Fall came and painted the mountain in fire. Eliza spent the days preserving food, preparing for winter. She wasn't afraid of it anymore. She knew what to expect, knew she could handle it. The first snow fell in October. Light, beautiful, temporary. Eliza stood in it and tilted her face to the sky, let the flakes melt on her cheeks. Rowan came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "Happy?" he asked. "Yes, happier than I've ever been." She turned in his arms. "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me, for believing in me, for loving me even when I was broken." "You were never broken, just bent. And even bent, you were beautiful." Eliza kissed him, soft and slow. When they broke apart, she was smiling. "Come on," she said. "Let's go inside. I made stew." "Did you burn it?" "Not even a little bit." They went inside together. The cabin was warm. Firelight danced on the walls. The smell of cooking filled the air. Home, Eliza thought. This is home. Not the building, not the mountain, but this man, this life, this choice. She'd run from Boston with nothing but fear and stolen papers. She'd climbed a mountain she wasn't built for. She'd learned to survive in conditions that should have killed her. She'd fought off 8 men. She'd killed her husband. She'd faced down lawyers and reporters and her own demons. And she'd won. Not because she was strong, not because she was brave, but because she'd refused to quit, refused to give up, refused to let the world make her small again. She'd survived. And then she'd thrived. And then she'd claimed her life with both hands and made it into something beautiful. The woman who'd stepped off that wagon 6 months ago, soft, scared, hopeless, was gone. Buried under calluses and scars and hard-won strength, in her place was someone new, someone the mountain had forged, someone who knew her own worth, who chose her own path, who answered to no one but herself. Eliza Hale. She liked the sound of it. Winter settled in for real in November. The snow came heavy and deep, the temperature dropped below zero and stayed there. But inside the cabin, there was warmth, there was light, there was love. They spent the long nights talking, reading, playing cards, making love, building a life one small moment at a time. One night, Rowan said, "You know what I think?" "What?" "I think you're the toughest person on this mountain, maybe in the whole territory." Eliza laughed. "That's ridiculous. You're the one who lived up here alone for years. You're the one who knows everything about survival. Knowledge isn't toughness. Toughness is refusing to quit when everything in you wants to give up. It's choosing to fight when running would be easier. It's surviving hell and coming out the other side still capable of love." He looked at her. "That's you. That's who you are." Eliza felt tears sting her eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Maybe. But you did it. That's what matters." She moved to him, straddled his lap, cupped his face in her rough, scarred hands. "I love you," she said. "I love you so much it scares me sometimes." "Don't be scared. I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "Promise." They sat like that for a long time, holding each other, breathing together. Two people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and made something beautiful anyway. Christmas came again. This time they celebrated. Eliza made a feast: roast venison, potatoes, fresh bread, dried apple pie. Rowan carved her a set of wooden spoons. They exchanged gifts by firelight and talked about the year behind them, the year ahead. "What do you want from next year?" Rowan asked. "This, exactly this. You, the mountain, our life." Eliza smiled. "Maybe a bigger garden, maybe some chickens, maybe a second room on the cabin. We can do all of that. What about you? What do you want?" Rowan thought about it. "I want to keep watching you grow, keep seeing you become more yourself, keep falling in love with you every day." Eliza's breath caught. "You're falling in love with me? Still?" "Every day. A little more, a little deeper." He pulled her close. "You're it for me, Eliza. The only one, the last one." She kissed him then, put everything she felt into it, all her love, all her gratitude, all her hope. When they broke apart, both were breathless. "Marry me," Rowan said. Eliza blinked. "We're already married." "I know, but that was a transaction, a contract. I want to do it right this time. I want to stand in front of people and promise you everything. I want everyone to know you chose me. And I chose you, not because we had to, because we wanted to." Eliza felt her heart swell. "Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Again, properly." They married in the spring. The sheriff came up the mountain with a minister and half the town. They stood in the clearing in front of the cabin and made promises to each other. To love, to honor, to stand together against whatever came. The whole town cheered. Afterward, there was food and music and dancing. People Eliza barely knew came up to congratulate her, to shake her hand, to tell her they were glad she'd stayed. "You're one of us now," Mrs. Chen said. "Mountain folk. That's a rare thing." Eliza looked around at the celebration, at these people who'd accepted her, who'd stood by her, who'd become, in a strange way, her family. And she realized something. She wasn't running anymore. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't afraid. She was home. The party lasted until sunset. When everyone finally left, Eliza and Rowan stood in the clearing and watched the last riders disappear down the trail. "Well," Rowan said, "we did it." "We did." "How's it feel, being married? Again?" Eliza smiled. "Feels right. Feels like something I chose instead of something that was forced on me." "Good." Rowan took her hand. "Come on, Mrs. Hale. Let's go home." They walked into the cabin together, into the warmth and light, into the life they'd built from nothing. And Eliza realized that this, right here, right now, was everything she'd ever wanted. Not the fancy house in Boston, not the silk dresses or the dinner parties or the shallow life she'd left behind. This, a man who loved her, a home she'd fought for, a mountain that had tested her and found her worthy. Freedom. Real, hard-won, blood-bought freedom. She'd started as the wrong woman in the right hell. A soft city girl who had no business on a mountain, who everyone expected to fail. But she hadn't failed. She'd broken. She'd bled. She'd learned. She'd fought. She'd survived. And then she'd done more than survive. She'd won. Not just against Charles, not just against his hired men, but against the world that had tried to make her small, against the fear that had owned her for so long, against every voice that said she wasn't strong enough, wasn't tough enough, wasn't enough. She'd proved them all wrong. And now, standing in the cabin she'd helped rebuild, with the man she'd chosen beside her and a future stretching out bright and wild and free. Now she was finally, completely, undeniably home. Rowan pulled her close. She went willingly, rested her head on his chest and listened to his heartbeat. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too." Outside, the mountain stood silent, strong, eternal. It had tested Eliza Hale, had thrown everything it had at her, and she'd endured. Not just endured, she'd conquered. On that mountain, where only the toughest survived, where weakness meant death and strength meant life, Eliza Hale didn't just survive. She thrived. She claimed her power, her voice, her life, and she never, ever looked back. The end.